you, sir? Tired. I need a nap.
How's your day?
I know I do.
You know, it's weird when I see you. I used to have a doctor I went to who looked just like.
Oh, really?
I mean, like,
Yeah, well,
you two could be brothers.
statement of works and all that stuff, contracts, it's
Kinda
what I
crazy.
do on my daily day.
Because I see it and I'm like, oh, and my brain always wants to go to the doctor.
I had
like,
notes.
no, that's Mike.
Yeah,
This
just
page, this reference, this paragraph, I have questions on.
How's things going over there?
And Sean's
How's the
like,
place?
it's gone.
where are you coming up with?
Yeah.
I'm like, right here.
I've got a second quote, but it is.
Hi, Julie.
I can look on this in September. Those ones are low.
What- I don't know, do we have one? Because I didn't see one. It just, if necessary. I know Jeff said there was something he wanted to discuss with us, but I don't know if it's, eminent. Yeah. But that was he had that in his report.
Which is 13,000.
It's
Inflation is 1 year. The truth,
I've never. So no, I'm assuming that's something he
the one that eight
stumbled over, picked up.
that we're going to swap.
Good to know.
20. It's a 2,000.
Guess I better turn my ringer off.
But yeah, I mean, I've done the due diligence. Oh, I know.
Hey, how you doing, David?
You alright? That was low. Huh? Looks much better. Nobody's gonna.
Sounds a lot better too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny because he was down there with the mic and it sounded like he was climbing up the wall right there and like so much clearer. Yeah, yeah. It might take.
Is Eileen calling?
What's that?
Whose phone is Eileen calling?
Facebook and only that's something.
Your microphone? It's mine. Take it off of here.
I brought my glasses.
Maybe
Thank you.
something like that. That's what we did last
So
time.
Yeah,
sad.
it'll probably,
Really?
I'm up here constantly putting mine on.
Warriors out there. We all have our
I
moments,
need
right?
it to read, but yeah.
This is what we do.
See, in my computer, I'm fine, but if I have my phone, I'm like, if somebody else has to
Hello.
for me.
Good evening.
Good. Yeah, they don't have to be at work all the time because my phone is ringing. I'll be like,
Too, by the way.
we'll wait on you. That's okay.
Hey, I'll always like, remind me to I meant to send an email.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Good.
Here's the stuff.
Thank you.
There's a couple things. Your copy of the check for routing purposes.
Okay.
We got
I also have to, my social security.
I'm ready for that.
I was wondering, like,
Yeah, they don't.
Well, that's all that.
It'll fall out of this.
This is all we got to work on tonight. One page.
Just a couple things to touch on real quick. Recently.
okay. See, how many hours have change it, but right now it's like a monthly amount. I just want we can wait for them. Fine,
I was just I have this on my computer.
Related to me.
I know this.
Are they already on the agenda? Why don't you talk to Rufner real
Pages
quick?
of notes.
Yeah, he's gonna do
Afraid
it.
somebody's gonna forget.
I think that's.
Maybe make a motion to amend the agenda, make, to,
Make a motion.
Copies for each meeting.
Yeah.
Tonight's agenda, make a motion. Yeah.
She likes it.
why don't you talk to Rufner and see what he's gonna do?
Got some audio.
Mike took all our candy, so this is all that's left.
We got a hot. That's good.
Michael.
You'll be able to hear this.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
You took all our candy?
It adds up to the month.
Yeah,
It didn't say that he was, it didn't say he get monthly payments.
well, it's more complicated than that, because during a leap year, which, I don't know,
We're gonna be here a while.
when the next one's scheduled for,
Usually
it can
Tuesdays,
create
you're like,
complications,
"What's
because
gonna-"
people argue.
Yeah, I know. We got
Paid more or less than they should have, but if you just set it for bi-weekly,
during the
it's
day
over.
and
It's not
he
that
pays
much.
us.
So I'm just thinking long-term.
His fucking.
Okay,
It would have to be a
okay, well, no, whatever. I think it can be as simple as a motion, because we're not changing dollar values.
well, it would be his decision. It'd be his decision as to whether.
Yeah, better. I still sound bad, but.
As long as you
We're
know
gonna, I'm gonna just put them on a bi-weekly basis and we'll figure it out. We'll get it figured.
Caught his foot on the cable.
What we're here for.
what happened.
He kicked the board cover. Then we did house cleaning, cleaned up this up, and then he tears it apart.
Like that.
Everybody ready? Call to order
Call roll.
and pledge of allegiance and. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Aiken?
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
All right, changes to tonight's agenda.
Yes, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make two motions added to the agenda tonight. First motion will be to direct the city manager and the finance director to develop a professional advertisement for the full-time position of finance director for the village of Newton Falls.
For a second? I'll second that. Anyone else?
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Call roll.
Good.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
And the second motion would be direct the clerk of council to inquire as to the cost of advertising said position on a professional job posting site such as Indeed or LinkedIn or other professional site that the finance director could advise and, point us towards, and provide that information back to council. Preferably, let's say maybe information back by the 6th of March meeting.
I'll second that. Second?
Can I just, if I may, can I repeat that to make sure I have it? To direct the clerk of council to inquire into the cost of advertising on Indeed, LinkedIn, or other media as recommended by the finance director for the advertisement of the finance director position, and provide back to council by the March 6th meeting those figures?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Those will be added to the end of new business.
Thank you.
All right?
All right, I'd like to make a change to tonight's agenda. I don't have the ordinance number in front of me without looking for it, but I'd like to amend the contract we gave Mr. Limbian. What we initially had put in there was the monthly amount that we wanted to give him per month, and I'd like to change it to just bi-weekly, so whatever that value would be changed to, I don't know that number offhand, but I'd like to amend it so it's just bi-weekly, which aligns with how we're currently doing payroll for the city, correct?
Right, so the amendment would just be to change the payment from monthly to biweekly. Well, not the actual payment itself, but the value of the payments over a year to be paid biweekly.
I'll second that.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, number 5, special presentation by staff members or invited consultants, which is a presentation of commission and board annual reports.
Do we, is it time sensitive?
No,
She's ready, whenever.
she's ready, whenever.
Public comments.
Well, I think,
Tell me when.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to do.
are they coming up, I think they're coming up to do the report.
Mr.
Okay, that's all right.
Sure. I'd like to, your permission, the following order. Treasury Investment Board, Charter Review Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, and Planning and Zoning Commission,
Go ahead.
in that order.
Okay, I'm gonna give Eileen,
Thank you.
she's our customer service rep from Meter Call, and she's gonna do a presentation by conference on the year-end meter investments.
This is Eileen.
Hello, Eileen, it's Sean. You are on conference in council here, and as we discussed previously, you're to be giving a small Treasury Investment Board presentation for the end of the year, 2023. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
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 Perfect. Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank Council and Finance Director for the opportunity to address Council and to share with you a little bit about Meter, a little bit about myself, and then talk about how we work with the city on the investment portfolio. So I'm Eileen Stanek, Regional Director of Advisory Services for Meter Investment Management. I've been working with public entities for over 20 years. And at Meter, I oversee the firm's advisory staff and provide investment advisory services to a group of clients. I will say I'm very honored to work with the city of Newton Falls. So Meter, briefly, we specialize in providing investment advisory services to public entities. We help all of our clients meet their investment objectives of safety, liquidity, and return within the confines of state statute and investment policies. So we're headquartered in Dublin, Ohio, and our public funds business was formed in 1990, and we currently provide our service to over 400 public entities across the country. and that includes over 250 Ohio public entities. Our total assets under advisement as of today exceed $130 billion. So needless to say, we are very dedicated to this space and have the staff and resources to provide the service that our clients, such as the city, need. So as it relates to our service to the city, we have been working with the city for a few years now, and one of our first steps was to help to update the investment policy to align it with state law. And then on an ongoing basis, we develop and execute an investment strategy in conjunction with the finance director to meet the city's investment objectives, again, of safety, liquidity, and return. And when we think of investments for public entities, they are limited to what are called short-term fixed income securities, and these securities are permissible under the city's investment policy. So I believe you were all provided with 2 reports, which help to demonstrate really the services that we need and that also cover the investment position at the end of the year. So the report that was titled Meter Annual Report, and on the face of it says Annual Supplemental Reports. That is a report that we provide to the city once a year. And the purpose of the report is to provide information to assist the finance department in preparing the annual financial statements. So this is, I would say, an example of how one of the aspects of our service that we provide that's specialized to meet the needs of the city and to meet the needs of public entities. The information that's on that report is basically showing all of the holdings of the city and then categorizing them again in a manner that helps provide information for the annual report. The first report that was provided is the monthly investment report. And so this monthly investment report, again, we provide this on a monthly basis to the finance director, his staff. This provides a snapshot of the city's investments, along with the detail of the individual holdings and the month's transactions, including income received for the month. So if you have that report in front of you, I would like to direct you to turn to page 2 of 12 of the report, because this is the snapshot, which we refer to as the portfolio summary. So what this shows is that at the end of the year, so this is as of 12/31, the city had in their investment portfolio securities that totaled the $5,142,014.09. Now, this does not include any funds held in the city's bank account or Star Ohio, which I will talk about as well. The investment securities in total yielded a 2.94%. Now, we want to keep in mind that, yes, interest rates have been increasing throughout 2023 and 2022, but when we think in terms of an investment portfolio, it is something that evolves with time. So with time, as we're having maturities and reinvesting them, they are at the current levels of rates, which are higher than the combined portfolio at the end of the year. So that yield we would expect to continue to grow. The other factor I wanted to talk about is that the average maturity of the securities currently stands at 2.5 years. So what that means is we have individual bonds, fixed income securities, i.e. bonds. This would be U.S. Treasury securities, U.S. government agency securities, and the like, some of which mature, have maturity dates that are within a year, some of which have maturities within 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and beyond. But on average, the entire portfolio matures in 2.5 years. So as we're in this state within the economic cycle, as well as, considering, some of the changes that are occurring at the city. As we are today reinvesting funds, and again, this is in conjunction with the finance director, we are looking to just reinvest funds to mature no longer than 3 years, with the intent to increase the liquidity for the city. Now, I did mention that I did want to talk about a little bit about Star Ohio, because it is a very unique option. And so the city does use Star Ohio for liquidity purposes. And at the end of the year, the city did have invested in the Star Ohio product $1.786 million. Now, you may ask, what is Star Ohio? Star Ohio is a money market fund that invests in very short-term securities. And by investing in very short-term securities, it can provide same-day availability of funds. So this allows the finance director to easily move funds in and out of the Star Ohio account as needed. And of course, it provides a better return than having monies just maintained in the bank's checking account. The fund is managed, by the state treasurer's office. Excuse me. And we actually serve as an advisor to the state for this fund. Not only public entities are permitted to invest in the fund, so it's not something that is available for individuals or corporations to invest in. Collectively across the state, at year-end, Ohio public entities had a total of $19.3 billion in the fund. And as I've mentioned, the city's balance was $1.786 million. So we can see that this fund is heavily used by public entities, and it provides a great liquidity tool for the city. So with that, I'd like to thank you and be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Mayor, may I end the report then?
Council, you got any questions? Anyone?
Okay, Eileen, thank you very much. This is over.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a
bye.
great evening.
You too. Bye.
All right, I think we can open things up to public comments.
We have more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have 3 more reports.
3 more reports.
Next
Sorry
one
about
is
that.
Charter Review Commission. Yes.
Charter review.
John. Funds. And the 2023 Charter Review Commission did not use any village funds in holding our meetings, in the materials necessary for research, and in office supplies necessary for commission to function. The citizen who comprised the Charter Review Commission bore the expense of paperwork and printing costs. The only funds I'm aware of being spent on the commission's behalf were to provide lighting and heat to the space in which we held meetings, and for village staff for their time used in communication with the commission. The second item required is activities engaged in by the commission. And as chairman of the commission, I first asked myself what I believe we were to accomplish, and the answer that immediately came to my mind was trust. Trust can be achieved with accountability to our founding document, the Charter. Accountability builds trust. Trust is earned, and one measure of earned trust is for staff, department heads, and the council to be accountable to the Charter. The Charter Review Commission was composed of 7 members: Condi Bright, Rich Curlin, who resigned, Brenda Corinne, Julie Lemon, Bruce Moore, Craig Warmer, and me. And my thanks to the members of the commission for their work ethic. their contributions to debate, and for their desire to produce a work product that provided checks and balances in favor of the citizens over the institutions that govern our village. Thus, our immediate purpose was evident to look for significant loopholes in the present charter that allowed an erosion of the public's trust, and when identified, to apply a practical check and balance if possible. We needed to consider solutions while we set aside political agendas. In seeking solutions, it was important to differentiate between the perfect and what can be accomplished. We sought not to discard progress on an issue in the pursuit of perfection. In addition, if the choice was between an inconvenience to governing officials and increased protection of the citizen, we favored the interest of the citizen. And as to methodology, we decided to use the system used by the 2022 Charter Commission, as inasmuch as that system was logical, efficient, inclusive, and non-political. That method involved creating a possibles list. After we received ideas from the public, village officials, boards, and added the ideas proposed by the members of the commission, each item on the possible list was discussed, and each idea was designated as held for future discussion or discarded. We also set a desired number of charter changes that we did not want to exceed, as this is a necessary practical step in winnowing out ideas. The commission held meetings weekly because there was a short time frame allowed in completing our work. The work had to be completed, the ideas legally vetted, the final language formulated by the law director before being submitted to the elections board to meet their deadlines for placement on the ballot. During meetings, all of which were open to the public to attend, discussions were held winnowing the original possible list until we had 16 proposed charter changes. The public voted to pass all 16 of our submitted charter changes. And it should be noted, at times there will be charter proposals which some council do not fully support. Fortunately for the citizen voter, our charter gives council the duty to select the 7 charter review members, and that is the extent of their control over the Charter Review Commission. Once the Charter Review Commission submits its proposed changes to council, the charter language says, City Council shall submit to the electors all such proposed alterations, revisions, or amendments to be voted on at the next general election. This year, an appointed councilman failed to live up to his oath of office and did not vote to submit the proposed changes to the election board. This violation of the oath of office and charter occurred despite the direction from the law director stating it was the council's duty, according to the charter, to submit the proposed changes to the elections board. If council chooses to do so, at any time, council may avail themselves of Article 10 of the Newton Falls Charter, which states, the council may, by affirmative vote of 4/5 or more of its members, submit to the electors any proposed amendment. One of our proposed charter changes was challenged by a council-initiated charter change that removed the responsibility for the community center from the Parks and Recreation Board and gave that responsibility to the city manager. The Charter Review Commission proposed change left responsibility for the community center with the Parks and Recreation Board. Furthermore, the Charter Review Commission proposed change explicitly removed the Parks and Recreation Board from direct supervision by the city manager, making it clear that the city manager was to supervise the village employees and equipment used to fulfill the budget plans of the Parks and Recreation Board. Also, the city manager was to be responsible for the purchasing function to fulfill the Parks and Recreation Board's budget. That budget in accordance with the appropriations of council. Whichever change passed and received the most votes would be placed into the charter. If both changes failed, then the charter would not be changed. This was a wonderful example of the power that voters hold. While the Charter Review Commission was pleased our version of the change was approved by the voters, we, in truth, were content to abide by the wisdom of the voters. This was small-town democracy in action. It is wonderful when voters are given the opportunity to express the collective wisdom of the citizen. Too often, political activists presume to speak for all of us. The ballot box is where truth is spoken. With respect, this report is submitted to the city clerk and to members of the council.
Parks and Recreation.
Heidi Zimmerman, 515 LeMay. We need the podium back. Maybe like a music stand or can't find the podium. Okay, so current committee members, the chair of Parks and Recs is Lauren I. Heisel. I'm the secretary, and John Donato is our third member. A past member in 2023 was Tim Stinson for a few months. Park and Rec funds expended by this committee, 0. The committee would like to thank the former city manager and 2023 council rep Tessa Spletzer for the following list of achievements, activities, and park improvements that the committee proposed and were enabled to successfully implement with their assistance, information, funding, and guidance offered to us through their communications throughout the year. And here is the extensive list of the stuff that the committee was able to do last year and the help that we received. Nothing. By contrast, the following is a list of motions proposed by the committee in 2023, which met largely with silence, zero communication to council, and negative feedback, if any at all, from the city manager. Mulch for the playgrounds. Everyone knows we need mulch for the playgrounds. So many people have come to us saying this. Yes, the committee knows playgrounds need some attention. We tried many, many, many times to tell the city manager, to ask the city manager, and we were told that we were merely an advisory committee and she had the power, and it was apparently not in her interests. Power washing the playground equipment also. In March, we made a motion to request the budget, which I will say in August, Sean here did meet with us, but it was explained to us in August that it was too late in the year for many of these playground projects, or that the city manager had already spent the vast majority of our budget. And we were reminded that we are an advisory committee yet again and must request approval for any plans. Motion was made in March to get updates on grant availability for Parks and Rec, since we do have in our employment a grants writer. Nothing was shared with us. Motions were made to inspect and repair the playground equipment. Motion was made to repair the park bathroom in time for baseball season per the league's requests. I believe it was repaired. I'm not sure when, but nothing, again, was ever told to us as a committee. A big one, the whole community and veterans bench project, which Park and Rec had been trying to initiate for at least the past 2 years, was taken out of our hands when the city manager gave a bench and then the entire fundraising program to a non-village resident instead. Status of the bench is potentially bought by the program, never told to us. I hear from the rumor mill that they're sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So I'm guessing that that's going to be a Park and Rec's budget expenditure for shipping for these benches. Hopefully we get them soon. In August, we researched a small grant opportunity and proposed that we seek it to buy ADA equipment for the playgrounds. The city manager, via email, stated that if we sought the quotes and brought her the paperwork and contact info, she would take it over from there. This project is actually one that is carrying over. Hopefully, progress can be made this year. We also requested the security camera over the flowers on the bridge be moved to the city park, and were met with no response. Now, the charter amendment has changed some things, but this committee was fully aware that we were merely citizen volunteers serving on an advisory board because we were told that every time we requested anything. We have no power on our own to act or purchase on behalf of the city. Any success we may have, any change or improvement we make depends entirely on the cooperation and communication with the village administration, the city manager, the finance director, the grant writer, and you on council. Without such, we possess neither the knowledge nor the tools nor the permission to begin any project. Committee members should not have to resort to record requesting information pertinent to Parks and Recs. We should not have to wait until the budget reports are online to see what was spent out of our budget and what we have left. We as a committee do not even have a line in our budget dedicated to our own committee discretion, but must ask for money for even the smallest ideas and hope that there are no more $18,000 lawnmowers to be bought. And don't begrudge don't begrudge the street department at all their lawnmower. Since we weren't using the budget, I'm glad that it could have been used for something useful. But we were, again, not aware of that purchase. Whatever was done for the parks in 2023 was done solely by the city manager's plans and direction. It is true it was fully within her powers to enact the repairs and purchases. However, we question the wisdom of an administration that disdains and actively blocks the committee from functioning and refuses to entertain other ideas than their own. Even simply having the building opened up for us to meet was sometimes too much trouble in the past for our city manager and our council rep. When citizens step up willing to volunteer, why would a leader turn away assistance? But the good news is 2024 has already seen new faces and shows promise of new philosophies of leadership. Though we know that our village has many more pressing issues, we at Parks and Rec hope that at a minimum, the safety and appearance of our parks can be addressed. Newton Falls cannot begin to draw in new residents and attract new businesses when its playgrounds look like they belong in a third world country. Therefore, the Parks and Recs Committee is looking forward to real conversations with all of you up here, the new village leadership, about how we can finally begin to work together to revitalize our parks. Thank you.
Does anyone know if the podium is still in the building here? I'd like to return that podium up here. I think it'd make it a lot easier for the citizens when they get up and speak.
We'll get it returned.
Is it close by?
We should be able to get it returned, yes.
Is it in here?
There is one. I'm not 100%
Why don't we
sure
take
it
a
is the same
2-minute
one.
recess and bring a podium up here for the citizens?
That's fine.
Is that all right with everybody?
Yes.
All right, let's take 2 minutes.
You need my help.
Hands up.
I ain't doing no CPR, just so you know.
I have cough drops.
So do we.
Two. We get your own buffet. I'm down to one. Oh, wait. I have more.
You know, not you
I have a
mentioned.
whole pocket. I have more.
I'm not moving it.
I have lots more here. It's a 10-minute.
No running.
Don't fall backwards.
There's an email from Mike. Well
done.
I almost put it up. We talked about that.
A little piece of life.
There's really no update. But they gotta determine where they're putting them.
When I met people, it's
guess. I know.
People have asked.
What do we do with the car? It's sitting in her house, is my understanding. It's sitting in her house, is my understanding. She's technically an employee.
Yes,
Until.
but
I know.
the one place it said she was to return every single thing.
I get it.
So
But
she's,
she's still an employee till at the end of February. So I guess we didn't set it specifically. Must everything was
we said to return every single thing.
right.
What happens if it's a wreck?
Oh,
Then her up to.
It's terrible.
you can ask that to the law director. Or you can email him. Questions I can't answer. I don't know the answer.
All right, we're back in business.
No, but what I
That's your podium. You're good to go.
Well, you can email him. That's what I'm saying, to get an answer so that you can speak on it.
Oh, I thought you said. Hi, thank you. You're so kind.
Don't let it get around. Ruin my reputation.
Put him on the hot seat. You see?
Motion to return?
First,
Motion return.
my choice.
Mike, we got one more report left? or we-
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue, and I must admit, I do feel special being able to lean on this one thing yet, so, thank you. Planning and Zoning Commission had one meeting last year in 2023. We had the December 11th meeting. At that meeting, we elected the officers. Paul King was elected chairman, and I was elected secretary. We conducted 2 orders of business at that meeting. We approved a motion to combine multiple lots owned by Philip Elliott into 2 parcels. Passed unanimously. We also approved a variance request of William Cutlip to rezone property located at 127 North Canal Street from commercial to residential. That passed unanimously. And we were also introduced to Nick Bellis, the assistant zoning administrator. With that commission, we spent no money at that meeting, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Include all the reports?
Yes, sir.
All right. We're ready, we can move into public comments with the podium.
Craig Wilmer, 322 Morrison Avenue, New Falls, Ohio. I was part of the commission, the review. I was privileged to be a part of it. When I first started it, I didn't know what to expect. I've heard all too often people say, get rid of the charter. Let's just get rid of it. And I'm going to say that I was part of that somewhat until speaking with these gentlemen. What are you going to replace it with? And I get asked, since I've been part of this, get rid of the charter. And when I ask people, what are you going to replace it with? They don't have an answer. The decisiveness in this town, the division, it's got to stop. We all have to come together in some kind of a common ground. And if history's taught us anything, we can do it. It is possible. The one thing that surprised me a lot was we had 16 amendments. And I was joking with these guys in the beginning of the meeting here. And my wife says, well, how many of these do you think's going to pass? And I says, if we get 8, I'll be ecstatic. And lo and behold, we had 16 out of 16 go. So the voters of this town, they spoke. And it was together. So there's proof. If we work together, we can accomplish things. It can be done. So that's basically my message. Let's please, as this town, let's just come together in a common ground and get things done. That's basically what I got. Thank you.
Rick Curlin, 1009 Wood Glen. My first question would be in reference to the ordinances 2023 from 2023. I'm taking for granted that this is because the meeting so far has been declared not to be a valid meeting. If I'm not mistaken, there was a first reading on these ordinances, and you have it as a new ordinance. So you're repeating something that, if the meeting was not valid, never got a second, never got another reading. So using that number from 2023, I think, is incorrect. It should be different language. You're running the same thing over again, and I would think you should have a new ordinance number. Those are invalid. I'm taking for granted also, because it doesn't say this on it, but this is you're counting this as the first reading, again on 2023 ordinances. I don't agree with that either. I don't believe that's lawful. Under new business, I see that you're wanting to change the administrative code and conduct in relationship to employees, which boils down to the council not having to follow the handbook anymore, which relates to drug testing or even taking an initial drug test. I would think that since you are the legislature and supposedly the head of the government, that you'd want to show a good example. This doesn't at all. The new laws involving marijuana still do not allow a place to even buy marijuana. The drug testing doesn't necessarily have to be just for marijuana. It can be for meth, it can be for codeine, it could be for alcohol. That's all inclusive. And why you would want to even present this to the public is beyond me. This is something we've done in the past. Everybody's done it. There are people up there that have already taken the drug test. I'm supposing some that have not. But it just makes no sense. Not if you're leading by example. This is not only marijuana. That law has nothing to do with this right now. You're setting yourself aloof from everybody else. Did you know the interim city manager has to take a drug test? He's subject to the same thing, and that is random drug testing. What makes you so special? Some of you have already taken it, others haven't, I presume. So why do it? Why go through the hassle that you're going to have? In an ordinance form, obviously, there are choices that the public has
Mayor, time.
if this is passed. Perhaps those choices will be used.
Any more public comments? All right, I'm going to move into the reports. The only thing I'd like to report is, or speak on, is the bidding process on, the first one that comes to mind is with the vehicle. I think any big ticket item, we should have at least 2 or 3 bids going out. Now, I talked to Mike about it, and bids came in low on the state side. But I think even from here on in, like I said, anything that's a big ticket item, we need to bid. And, you know, derivatives, when you start sweeping those up at the end of the year, the small things, it starts to add up. So we really need to watch. And I'm not talking about counting paper clips or anything like that, but we need to audit the budget. This is the people's house. This is the people's money, and you know, everybody on council here is a ward for watching that money, the taxpayers' money. So that's all I have to say. Turn it over to the council members.
I attended yesterday's planning and zoning meeting. There wasn't much on the agenda. We did get an update from the zoning inspector, and there was some discussion about possibly outlawing marijuana sales within the city, and there's some concerns over what we can legally do with the drug rehab houses. I have suggested to them to reach out to Mr. Limby and to discuss what they'd like to see implemented, and then we'll go from there. So I don't know what legally we can do, but probably lean on Jeff for some guidance for that. So.
You got anything, Pat?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Ms. Julie?
We had a emergency fire board meeting on Sunday. I wasn't able to attend because I sounded worse than this. But we had some vehicle repairs for our 45 vehicle, or 43, right? 43.
Rescue.
That needed to be addressed that were more expensive than they had anticipated. So that's all I have.
Ms. Brenda?
The ad hoc committee still has 3 seats that need filled. We do have a meeting scheduled February 12th at 6 p.m. All are welcome to attend it. Again, we're looking for 3 applications for that committee. You can turn them into Mike. Also, I'm looking into getting our first meeting started with the police committee. There's still one more seat that needs filled. If anybody is interested, please put in your application, Mike. Now, with that being said, I want everybody to look around the room. We have people sitting in this room that do not like each other. We have people sitting in this room that absolutely adore each other. But I want you to see what is missing in this room. You look back there to those doors. Do you see any sheriffs? I just took a walk outside. I don't see a sheriff sitting in our parking lot. And I bring this up for one reason. It has been brought into my attention, and I am absolutely appalled. We don't have to get along. We don't have to like one another. We don't even have to speak to one another. It's bad enough full-grown adults get on social media and post ugliness. I've stepped back from social media because I don't like to see it. But there was something brought to my attention that has me absolutely infuriated. For a full-grown adult, now keep in mind, there's no sheriffs. For a full-grown adult to get on social media and say, and I quote, "How about the Valentine's Day massacre?" If you get our drift. Something about thunder striking that day would be appropriate in a hoot. A full-grown adult. That's disgusting. Because let me tell you something. We are supposed to, as adults, set an example for our children and our grandchildren. Now, I myself have gotten up to that podium and have said things in distaste. I have said things out of anger, like I'm doing tonight. But those are words that can be heard or unheard. But when you get on there and you make a joke, because is this serious? I have no clue. But I'm pretty sure it was a joke. It was a joke of ugliness. Now, we don't allow our children to get on social media and post something like that. They can't go to school and write it down on a piece of paper and get away with something like that. How is a full-grown adult making something so disgusting getting away with that? Now, they can say it wasn't a threat. They can say it was just a joke. I call bullshit. I know people who lost their children at a Chardon school shooting. We see it all the time. You ain't safe walking into a mall or a shopping store. And a lot of people say it's not going to happen here in our town. It'll never happen here. You know what? People in Chardon said the same damn thing. People in other towns said the same damn thing. Now, nobody up here is going to say anything because I've known about this for 2 weeks and not one damn person has said anything about this. I am. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of us full-grown adults acting like spoiled 5-year-olds that can't get along because somebody took the red shovel and I want the blue one. These 3 gentlemen sitting right there say it all. If we can't learn to work together for the better of this town, our city, our people in our wards, then what the hell are we doing up here? And what are you sitting out there for? We're here for the better of our committee, of all committees, all boards, all people. Whether you rent, you buy, whether you live in a drug house, I don't care. It's our city. Maybe we should take more lead to those 3 people sitting right there. And I guarantee you, their children and their grandchildren know how to act like adults. This is disgusting. We want to talk about all this crap, but we're letting adults act like children. This I take as a threat, and I will look into it further. And so help me God, I won't put up with threats. You want to call me a bitch? Call me a bitch. I don't care. You like me? Great. You don't? Oh, well. Go kick rocks and go get some freaking ice cream. I don't care. But enough of that crap. And Mr. Mayor, I will not attend another meeting unless you got 2 sheriffs, not 1. I want 2 sheriffs.
You're absolutely
I
right.
want to protect the people in my ward, and I see several sitting from my ward here. I'm not up here for you or
And we need the
anybody
metal
else. I'm up here
detector too,
for my
but
ward.
I completely agree with that.
I'm sorry, but that is disgusting. I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Rufner, do you have anything?
No, Mayor, nothing at this time.
All right. Mr. Finance Director.
Sure. Well, first of all, Council Persino, I just want to say thank you. I'll also add to that, January is closed, got closed timely, and if anyone wants to look back and reflect upon how timely we've been able to get the months closed and reconciled, is they're all dated in the top left-hand corner, and they're all online, so we've typically been able to close within 2 days to 3 days of month end, which is pretty good. Exception might be a weekend, if the month closes on a weekend or over a holiday. December's reconciled, and, our December reconciliation probably only had 3 items on it compared to when I was first here back in the end of 2021, I think there were 3 pages of reconciling items. So things are coming together in the finance department for you pretty good. We're organized. We have our records organized. We should be able to get any requests responded to timely if we have the record. And I want to mention that I have been actively involved with Attorney Limbian. I've been forwarding him all of our records requests, and I think he's responded to all of them except one, at least by today. So, thank you for your involvement with that. I had a meeting today with City Manager Mike Novotny. By the way, congratulations, Mr. Novotny. Happy to have you on board as a city manager. And superintendents, water superintendent, electric superintendent, and Council Rufner and Council Stippert all on a conference call with Gardner today. There's a couple of invoices in late December and November we're kind of disputing, and we're seeking some additional information on. And we are also trying to negotiate a service credit related to our electric department, maybe inputting some of the meters themselves, installing some of the meters themselves. And, maybe Mike will talk a little bit more about that. So we're in the process of trying to reevaluate a couple of bills, and there might be some contract changes in the future depending on how some of our discussions go. I'll tell you that I'm already aware of some appropriation amendments that are going to need to be made in the future. I know that I'm going to need to make an amendment to the appropriations for the Scott Street project. Just, now that 2023 is over, I have to do this reconciliation on all the projects and reset the remaining appropriations we need for the project in 2024. I'm just not there yet with Scott Street. I need to do the same thing for Gardner. And in addition to that, I know that we've had a furnace break. I believe it was in the water department that was unplanned. I'm planning on including that on the appropriation measure. I'm not certain when this appropriation measure is going to be in front of you all, but I'm thinking probably realistically, maybe the first meeting in March, I'll have an amendment for those items. Hold on one second. Okay, the one last thing that I want to mention is we're still looking for some, some residents we'd like a couple or a few residents to be interested in applying for becoming a board member of the Treasury Investment Board. I think I only have one application right now on file for a person of interest, and I'd like to have several residents so that we have a good base of people to choose from the next time we meet, which I believe is sometime in February. And with that, I conclude my report.
All right, Mr. Law Director, do you have anything?
Just one quick comment. I would like to thank Councilwoman Persino for her drawing attention and pulling the veil off of what ugly comments were made online. And we had a very brief discussion. And I want you to know that the law department, and of course then the prosecutor's office, takes those kinds of comments very seriously. I'm going to reach out to the Trumbull County Sheriff's Department and ask them to assign a detective to at least be aware of what's happening and to maybe investigate who may have done that. What is unfortunate at times, because something is attached to somebody's account doesn't necessarily mean they were the one who did it.
True.
In addition, there are times when something like a veiled threat is made that doesn't have a lot of specificity, it's hard to prosecute. But what I will do is prepare a treatise, a document that sort of outlines when something crosses the line, so that we can all be aware of when what we consider a veiled threat, an actual threat that's actionable in the prosecution of that matter in a court of law. So I think anyone who says something online like that should know that menacing is a possibility, aggravated menacing is a possibility, and also, if it continues and you can discern exactly who did it, telecommunications harassment is another charge that's a possibility. So I want you to know, and I want the world to know, that those kinds of things are going to be taken very seriously.
Good.
Thank you.
Mr. Law Director, you'll follow up on that then?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Thank you, thank you. All right, Mr. City Manager, do you have anything?
Well, I had submitted a written report to all of you. I will take any questions on that. Adding to that, and adding to what the finance director had stated, the furnace that went out is in water distribution. It is inside their building, in their offices. It is beyond repair. It's 26 years old, I believe, so it's going to be a replacement. And yeah, it is in the area. The quote they got is about $11,700. It seems that that particular unit right now is mounted up into the ceiling or on the roof. That is not the best place for it, so it's going to involve some reduct work and things of that sort. So, but they're going to be moving forward with that. They've been getting by with just some space heaters in the offices recently. The electric bucket truck that came back from repairs, the actual numbers on that, the repairs totaled $43,887.99. The cost to the city was the $1,000 deductible, and then $565 for dielectric testing. It had to be retested once it was repaired.
Mike, was that equipment failure, or was it?
It was involved in an accident.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it had been involved in an accident and then had to be repaired, retested. So with that, to Councilman Persino, I had addressed your concerns with the Sheriff's Department. I will be making a phone call to Lieutenant Timko tomorrow. I can't answer the questions. I'm not sure that he'll be able to answer them, but I know he will find out. I will also follow up with a request to them of providing some deputies for that. That will come with a cost. Just understand, I don't know what that cost will be, but I'm sure there will be some costs associated with it that I'll bring back to you.
I'd rather be safe than...
I agree, 100%, just so everybody is aware that will be coming forward as well. With that, does anybody have any questions for me?
Anyone else? All right, we're going to move on to Section 8, which is approval of previous minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for January 17th of 2024.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for approval of the special meeting minutes for January 31st, 2024.
I'll second.
Rufner? Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to Section 9, Public Hearings. Ordinance 2024-2 amended, which is an ordinance amending Section 133-03 of the Administrative Code pertaining to the city manager's contract authority threshold.
Moving on.
We're going to move that one along?
Yes, sir.
All right, Section 10, unfinished business. That's ordinance 2023-30, an ordinance reappointing Bradrick Bryant as the Director of Law and authorizing the city manager to enter into a Director of Law agreement.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Rufner? Ms. Stimpert? Discussion?
Are there any concerns? I'm sorry, can I be recognized?
Yes, you may.
I mean, there was brought up concerns about the ordinance numbering because it was invalidated from that September 11th meeting. Should we have changed the ordinance number? Is there any concern there from a legal perspective or clerk perspective, or is it okay to use those numbers over, I guess?
If I may, I do not believe there's a problem with it at all. I think it's cleaning up business from 2023, and I think that's completely appropriate.
Okay.
If the city clerk feels differently, please feel free to weigh in, but I don't believe there's a problem.
No, I'll defer to your opinion.
In fact, if I might just consider one other component of it, I think it's important. The finance director and I spoke about this kind of a thing because I wanted to be certain that there wasn't anything that we were doing that didn't comport with state statutes in terms of timeliness for matters by the end of the year. And I think it's a signal to the state of Ohio that I think there's one or two things that are finance related in this series that normally have to be completed by the end of the year. And I think it provides a showing that this is a nunc pro tunc, now for then action that is cleaning up a matter, and that we weren't dilatory in doing something that should have been done by the end of 2023. Thank you.
Would you like me to remark, Mayor?
No, I don't have any remarks.
Oh, he wants to.
I'm sorry.
Would you like me to make a remark?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sure, I actually believe the numbering of 2023 is more accurately representing the time frame anyway, so I think it's better to leave the numbers as they were. And in regards to some of these other measures that are in front of you today, I mean, this is the first time that I've experienced this type of thing. I still believe the numbers need to be exactly like what they were. You know, in my mind, I just think, has already been decided, there's probably a legal term for that too in Latin. But the interesting thing is regarding the appropriation measure, I mean, how does that have an impact on anything, right? Well, what you're approving was for a period of time prior to the final one anyway. So it does not supersede the one that you approved in December. And, you know, I think I make your decision on it however you wish. because I know that what I'll be reporting on would be the final one that we did in December, where I re-summarized all the funds anyway in full detail, because that's the way the county prefers it to be. And it makes it easier to audit the appropriations at the end of the year anyway. Regarding the transfer, I mean, the transfer's done. There's no, that's what I meant, already been decided. I mean, you vote obviously on what you believe in. I'll try to pick up the pieces afterwards. If you change what's already been decided, I'll try to resolve what to do with that. Those are the only two pieces I want to make any remarks on, so.
Mayor?
Yes, please.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is actually the second reading of all these ordinances, correct? They were originally read in on the first meeting and then passed for a second reading on the September 11th, which was deemed an illegal meeting. So they never actually passed. So these are actually the second reading, which means, yes, they belong under unfinished business, which is where they're all listed, contrary to Mr. Curlin's comments. They are properly documented under unfinished business because they are unfinished. They've only had one reading. They were initiated in 2023, hence the ordinance number 2023. So we are going back and cleaning up the ordinances that were null and voided, made nil effect from that September 11th meeting. So a lot of hoopla and discussion over what is, what isn't, when all we're simply doing is just closing the books out on these previous ordinances. So that's all I've got.
May I have an address?
Yes.
Mr. Riffner, my records show that these ordinances received their first reading on September 11th, and then subsequently received second and final readings on October 6th, and the court order voids the first reading.
Okay.
And so, since they appeared in new business on September 11th, rather than repeating it as new business, you've already seen it once. I decided to place it in old business.
Right.
But my understanding is that tonight would be a first reading, and then there would also need to be a second reading at a subsequent meeting.
So the meeting in November, or
September 11th is the meeting that was voided.
voided, you said there was one more after that?
Yes, but because the first reading was voided on September 11th, every action taken after that is invalidated.
Invalid as well. Okay.
So we decided that it was safer to put this on for first reading tonight,
Okay.
and then a public comments, a public hearing, and final reading at a next meeting.
March 6th. Okay. Thank you.
So long as Mr. Limbian agrees.
Yes, that's a beautiful crystallization of the issues from the 11th, and I think it's best to do exactly what you're saying to do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Where are we? We have a motion and a second on 2023-30. Any further discussion? May I call the roll?
Please.
Mr. Riffner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
And Ms. Persino?
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to ordinance 2023-31, which is an ordinance authorizing the city manager to accept the quote of Protect Systems Group Incorporated for the water treatment plant. It's a programmable logic controller remote terminal unit upgrade.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Stempert? Ms. Benitez? Ms.
Any
Persino?
discussion?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mike,
May I call the roll?
please.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Riffner?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes. The next item is ordinance 2023-34. It's an ordinance authorizing certain amendments to appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, and authorizing the financial director to amend and file a certificate of resources with the county auditor.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Was that Ms. Stemper
Yes, sorry.
and Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
And Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
All right, the next ordinance is 2023-35, which is an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds.
Make a motion.
Second.
Axiotis? Ms. Benitez? Take the roll. Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Next, we have an ordinance 2024-2. It's an ordinance amending section 133-03 of the Administrative Code pertaining to the city manager's contract authority threshold.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Axiotis, Ms. Stemper? Any discussion?
Discussion?
Roll. Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Okay, new business. Ordinance 2024-03. An ordinance amending section 121-03 of the Administrative Code relating to the rules of conduct and procedure.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Axiotis, Ms. Benitez?
No, Stemper.
Oh, Stemper. My apologies. Discussion.
Discuss, okay?
Please.
I want to clarify what was said earlier in public comments. The only thing that's happening with this ordinance is that we're striking the word city employee out of the ordinance. Nobody's changing the concerns about drug testing or anything along those lines. It's just the fact that I think having the word city employee in there is problematic in so many other ways in terms of classification of what council is. We are elected officials, we're not employees. We may be paid by the city, but if you read the charter and you look at what's stated, we pretty much police ourselves. So expecting us to abide by the city employee handbook, that handbook gives the city manager the right to fire us. I see that as a problem because that's in the handbook, but our charter says otherwise, so I'm just trying to clean this up to basically say that we're not considered city employees. And some of that too, some of the concerns I had when I was filling out the paperwork as a new council member, there was requests for background and credit checks, which I don't feel had any bearing on being an elected official here. Like, I wasn't applying for a job for the city, I was elected to the position. So this is why I'm trying to clean this up.
Call the roll.
Nope, we still have
Oh,
discussion.
I'm sorry.
Did you have something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see where you're headed with that, but I disagree with it. I feel that I am a city employee. I don't have a problem with background checks. Nowadays, I think everybody should have a background check. You can't go to any job without getting a background check. And I should treat this as a job, because it is a job. It's a job for my Ward 3, and it's a job for my city. So I just kind of disagree with that a little bit. That's all.
Mayor?
Please.
I just want to know, Attorney Libby, did you want to weigh in on this a little bit and just clarify, or?
Yes, I, at the risk of opening a can of worms, I think it's, frankly, it's a good idea to clean up this as you're suggesting. I just want to take it one step further, and it goes to your point about things that employees are permitted to do or required to do, and things that elected officials are permitted and required to do, and what the qualifications are to run for an office can't be expanded at will by charter or by, you know, or by ordinance. It's a usurpation, I think, of what the legislative authority has the power and the right to do. To that extent, while I think it's laudable that anybody would want to take a drug test as a council member, I think it's wholly inappropriate to require the mayor or council to take a drug test. If you choose to, I'm sorry, I knew this would be a can of worms. I'm not saying to not do it. I'm just saying I don't think that anyone in the city, whether it's a charter component or not, I just don't think it's constitutional to require legislators or elected officials to be required to take drug tests. Thank you.
If I can just weigh in now that he's.
Please.
So I think the language does need to be cleaned up. And I will say, I've sat on other boards, and personally, I wanted to bring legislation that we needed to be drug tested, and I was told it wouldn't stand up in court, and, you know, it was basically illegal to do that. With that being said, it's in here to have the drug testing and that done, and I don't have a problem with it, and I'm fine with just leaving the language. I'm done.
Mr. Roofer, did you have anything?
The question and concern I've got about it is, if I'm considered an employee, don't I rate health care, health insurance? Don't I rate, and should I receive all the other perks as the other employees? Now, I have no problem at all with drug testing. I get randomly drug tested way too many times throughout the year in my current position. But if you look at the language as it states, council members shall, which per the charter amendment means will, comply with the city drug-free workplace policy. So that's not giving anybody a free pass. It's not giving anybody the opportunity that, you know, hey, I can go do this now. We, even though we're not considered employees, are still required to comply with the city drug-free workplace policy. It's a cleanup of the language. And I can see it from both sides, but I'm not fixated on the aspect of how can they get away with something. I'm looking at it as, if you call me an employee of the city, I'm an elected official. Y'all put me up here. I didn't apply through a job posting and go through interviews and all this. Okay, I was elected for the position. If you want to call me an employee, now I get health care. I get this, I get that. Things that I don't get now because I am the elected official. But it's a conflict. One position, we're an elected official and treated as such. This references us as an employee, which rate and separate different perks and benefits. So I have no problem with changing this as it reads from that aspect or that perspective. I'm not looking at it as what somebody can get away with. I have nothing else here.
Call the roll.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
No.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Pass 4-1.
All right, new business, continuing ordinance 2024-04, which is an ordinance approving the recodification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinances.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
May I have address?
Yes, you may.
This is just regular, I can't think of the words.
Please.
Help me out. Routine? Routine, thank you. This is just routine. We do it every year.
Any more discussion?
Mayor, I'll just say, just like to say, to go on with Julie, this is to enact and publish the ordinances and things that council passed over the past year, and also takes into account anything that was passed at the Ohio General Assembly that affects our local laws, ordinances, and stuff. So this isn't just council stuff, this is council, state, anything that potentially came down that affects how and what we do here legally in our laws. That's what these amendments are for.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Continuing new business, which would be ordinance 2024-6, which is an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement to purchase a 2023 Ford F-350 truck from Charchon Ford Lincoln and upfitting equipment for the same truck from Quality Truck for use by the wastewater treatment department.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? Please. I did talk with Mike about this. I think it was a previous meeting, and he had said there's a state minimum, like pricing, bid pricing, which I guess is what we've got on this truck. So I don't know if we get it any lower. I mean, I don't know. I mean, unless it was some kind of miracle, maybe. But and then obviously there's some addition of other items that maybe that might be able to be bid out. I don't know, but overall, I think it's a fair price. I mean, I'd ask maybe Mike if you wanted to weigh in on this as part of the discussion.
Sure. This has been in the process since the last quarter of 2023. I originally wanted to try and get it in 2023. The budget money just wasn't there. It is state bid pricing. For reference, I contacted another dealer that has state bid pricing as well on a very similar truck. I've got information here for you to look at if you would like to see it. While I'm explaining it, the secondary price came through slightly. Let me get this to you.
It was about $400 difference, right there.
Actually, it was, the base price on the truck was about $1,300 less than the cost of this truck.
Thank you.
That hurt.
Thank you.
Got enough to go around, Mike?
Sure.
So if you, the paper I just gave you, if you look at the bottom line total on that paper, that cost is approximately $1,300 less than the complete truck that we are wanting to purchase. That price is only good if at the time of a purchase order being placed, the vehicle is paid for. Personally, I would never approve paying for a vehicle that I have not taken delivery yet. Moving forward, if that is not paid for at that point in time, there's a minimum of a $3,500 charge that would be added to that total cost of the truck, which then puts the cost of the truck, of the equivalent truck, at $83,178, which is approximately $1,300 more than the cost of the complete truck that we're wanting to purchase. The second factor on this, this particular unit that I just passed out to you, delivery time is 25 to 30 weeks waiting for this vehicle to be ready to deliver. The third factor, the truck that we are wanting to purchase is a diesel. The one that was available on this particular quote was a gasoline. For the diesel engine, there's another $13,000 upcharge. So to make apples to apples, you would have to add $12,987 just to the base price of the truck alone, which then would put a state bid truck, equivalent truck of what we're wanting to purchase from Sarchone on the current state bid at over $92,000 versus what we are able to purchase this vehicle for. The vehicle that we are wanting to purchase at this time, the truck chassis is in stock, the bed is in stock, the plow is in stock. This unit probably will be delivered in approximately a month.
Mike,
And
what-
we'll be able
what's
to
the-
get,
What's the fifth wheel? Is that a tow package? Or is that a spare tire?
it's a spare,
Okay, okay.
yes, yes. This truck is replacing, technically it will be replacing a 1993 Chevy van. The vehicle that it is replacing on the road is a 2004 Chevy van, which is 20 years old. That is used daily by my crew, checking the system and maintaining the system.
Mike, is it necessary to have a diesel with a mid-size vehicle? I mean, we're gonna have to pay for what is it, the DEF additive on top of it?
We're already doing that with other vehicles.
I understand.
And over the course of time, I feel that the diesel will hold up better than the gasoline. We will get better longevity out of this vehicle than the gasoline engine.
How many miles have we rolled up on the old truck? Now, granted, it's 20 years old.
That truck's probably got,
Hit a home run.
I think it's got about 90,000 miles on it, 90 to 100,000. But more than that, it has a lot of idle time. These vehicles get a lot of idle time when we're out on the job, in the system, at the pump stations, et cetera. It does. It's the hours more than the miles.
Well, that explains what you need a diesel for.
Yes.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Want to call the roll on this?
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
That's 5-0.
All right. Would like to open it up for public comments?
No, we have
Mayor?
the-
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have those two motions.
Two motions. Sorry
Yes,
about that.
we have 3 motions that were added at the beginning of the meeting.
All right.
If I may, read the first motion. A motion to direct the city manager and finance director to develop a professional advertisement for the position of finance director and present that advertisement to council at the March 6th regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Rufner and Ms. Persino. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to discuss.
Please.
Right. And just so everybody's aware, this is in no way a negative action or reaction toward Sean Housley. We've talked about this before, and he'll even tell you straight up, his original intention when he first came here was not to be long-term. Okay, he was coming in, kind of establish a beachhead, get things rolling, and find a replacement. Over the period, he's become more of a permanent in the situation. And it's getting that point in time that he's looking to move on other ventures. So this is in no way, I don't want this to come across the wrong way. This is actually mutually discussed and agreed to, Sean and myself, and I felt it was time we put this on the table and start moving forward on trying to find someone for that position. It's only fair. He's looking to move on. He's giving us ample opportunity to look for a qualified person, spin them up, train them, and transition out. Graceful transition. So that's why this is being put out there.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Yes, 5-0. The next motion. A motion to direct the clerk of council to inquire into the cost to advertise the professional advertisement for the position of finance director on Indeed, LinkedIn, and/or any other medium recommended by Mr. Housley, and provide those costs to council at the March 6th regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Please.
Okay, and again, no offense to anyone out there, but I'm sorry, but advertising in a Newton Falls Villager isn't gonna cut it. Putting a post on Facebook isn't gonna cut it. We don't need someone that can sit at home and balance a checkbook most of the time. We need a qualified, finance-oriented, trained and certified individual. Mr. Housley and I have talked about it. That's why I'm requesting the inquiry into what it will cost for a professional job search site. Indeed, LinkedIn, others, you're going to get, in my opinion, a better quality of a candidate and a more qualified individual rather than, putting a flyer on the telephone pole out front. So I think we need to start treating this as a business and bringing the professionals in accordingly. So that's why I'm asking for these quotes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
And the final motion is a motion to make an amendment to Mr. Limbian's employment contract to change the contract language from monthly payments to biweekly payments.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Benitez?
I'll second.
Ms. Stempert? Discussion.
Discussion.
Mr.
Just want to make sure, clear the way you read that his total monthly amount would be adjusted accordingly. So I don't want to say we're going to make him bi-weekly, then we stated he gets 7,700 or whatever bi-weekly. Just to make sure that's clear.
May I try to add some more clarity?
Yes, please.
Mayor, may I add some clarity? May I address?
Please.
So what we'll do is we'll take his existing contract monthly amount, multiply it by 12 to arrive at an annual amount, then divide that by 26. So he'll be paid bi-weekly instead of monthly. It's just, it works better with our payroll system.
May I like Mr. Axiotis' idea better, though. That
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear, Jeff, I like it, but not that much.
It's an administrative thing, just to help us get them on cycle with the rest of the pays, that's all.
Okay, roll. Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
And Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
All right.
All right, now we're ready for the public comments.
Commenting again on the one that Mr. Rufner mentioned my name on. I don't believe you should get any more than you get, you're part-time. But it's very contradictory when you're changing it so that you're not an employee, but you're following the employee handbook. Mr. Rufner said you were going to follow the handbook. Does that mean you're taking drug tests and random drug tests? That's my whole point. Now, Mr. Libyan, law director, said he doesn't believe that politicians, elected officials, should have to take a drug test. Does that mean you're not taking a drug test? But you are taking a drug test. It contradicts. If you're not going to be an employee, you're going to follow the employee handbook. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Because according to the handbook, if you don't follow the handbook, you're not an employee, and someone wanted to say, I'm not an employee, I'm not going to follow it. You don't have to take a drug test. That's what it says, Mr. Rufner. And you're part-time. You shouldn't get any benefits. But even our part-timers have to have drug tests. I don't agree with the law director. I think you should be required to take a drug test, as it always has been, which includes alcohol also. People want to know that no one is doing anything they shouldn't do, and the way you do that is take a drug test and be available to take random ones. Now, if you're telling me that I'm wrong, and that, yes, indeed, you will be following that, and you'll be taking drug tests and random drug testing, then I have no problem with it. But now, if you're not telling me that, I've got a problem with it. Thank you.
Hello, Bruce Moore, 348 East Broad, from the great Third Ward. First off, I'd like to thank each and every one of you, compliment and commend you. You are working as a body, and it is so refreshing to come here and not have my blood pressure go through the roof and see nothing done. I do have a couple of comments, though, and one is talking about benefits and job requirements. I do believe there is a distinction in employees between full-time and part-time. In many organizations, part-time employees are not afforded health care or other benefits, but yet they are still required to do the same job duties as a full-time employee in that position. And so I think when we're looking at this time, it is imperative, especially after the history we've had, that we be forthcoming and honest and transparent. Transparency is the key word. And that leads into my other quick second item. When I interviewed for the Third Ward, which actually I'm kind of glad I didn't get because there's a lot of responsibility to that. I was asked what my 3 goals were. And I really would like to see, as a body, this organization consider what are our 3 short-term goals and what are our 3 long-term goals, and actually publicize those. President has the State of the State, the governor has his state speech also every year, and it really would be refreshing, rather than seeing us go month by month, to actually know that we do have a purpose. Thank you for all you're doing.
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. If everyone remembers, about a little bit over 2 years ago, when I was still on council, we had a appointed councilman that refused to take a drug test. And remember the uproar that brought up here in town. And remember, that's one of the things that led to that person resigning from council, refusal to take that test. As part of that conversation, one of the things I said when I was on council, what I would not subject myself to anything less than my other city employees were doing. We needed to be held to a higher standard on council, not a lesser standard. If they were required to take a drug test, we should be required to take 2. Held to that higher standard. Talking about safety, brought up that you wanted to start to see a sheriff here at these meetings. I just want to remind people that we do have a metal detector back here against the wall. We may want to look into getting that serviced again, plugged back in, see if it could possibly run and reinstated for use here, not just for council meetings, but it was used always for general public coming into the building. So that may be something that we may want to pursue again. And just one more time, thank you for bringing back this podium. One of the best things for this podium is it pushes the mic back a little bit further, so we don't have to follow someone that's licking and kissing the microphone when they speak. Thank you.
Anna EB, 50 West 9th Street. Y'all are getting along great. It's wonderful. I have one comment, and I made this comment with the other city manager because she had done the same thing that you just did, and I want to get you off of it right now. We like to know. We come to the meetings to find out information, and we would like to know what's in your written thing that you give to them. And I don't know if you said a lot afterward, so I don't know if that was in your written statement to all council members or whatever, but I would appreciate it in the future if you would let us all know. That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, Craig Wilmer, 322 Morrison Avenue. Thank you for working together. This has been one of the best council meetings I can remember. We've got a lot done tonight. Hopefully Mr. Copeland there will report that we had a very good meeting. Some good news from Newton Falls. Isn't that great? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move into closing comments. And I want to say Miss Brenda was absolutely right about the social media and bullying, and it's completely gotten out of control with what people can post on there, with no ramifications. You can put whatever you want, and it needs to be, it needs to be shut down. I don't know if we can do it on a local or a state level, but it needs to be reined in. and absolutely, positively agree that we need a peace officer up here.
Yeah.
You know, anybody can walk in here with a pistol, and, you know, I'm sitting up here naked, no gun, and these things, like you said, in Chardon, it was a bad situation up there. Excuse me. But the one thing I want to stress too, I'm sorry. As presider of the meeting, I just want everybody to understand we can't have any cussing. And Brenda, I know you're very passionate about what you're saying. We can't have any cussing in the audience, and we can't have any cussing up here either. It's just not going to fly. And Sandy Braemar got in a lot of trouble for saying ASS, and I want to keep you guys from getting into a hitch. So, and I mean that, Brenda, with all due respect, because everything you said was spot on. And Mr. Lembian, and Ms. Novotny, I hope you'll be following up, as well as I will, this week. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the council members.
I just want to reiterate again, the change to that ordinance just strikes the word city employee from it. We are still bound to a drug test. We still agree to that. Doesn't change that any. I don't know why that's hard to understand. Just clarifying, we're not city employees. And some of the reasons, like Brenda addressed earlier, I want to address again. When I picked up my packet, I was asked to do a background check and a credit check. That information was not to be shared with council. It would only go to the city manager. What purpose would the city manager have with a background check and a credit check of mine? I'm an elected official. It's not like that city manager could fire me or remove me based on the results of that. So it's an unnecessary check, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of questions asked about what was the validity of a lot of the things in the packet I filled out. There may be holes in the charter, there may be things that aren't clear, but saying we're a city employee, I think was very contradictory, that's all. You know, that's my feeling on it. That's the reason why I made the change. It doesn't change the fact we're still agreeing to take a drug test. I think, I can't speak for everybody, but I took one, so, you know, it didn't really change much other than just saying we're not city employees. And I think when you talk about the handbook and being bound to the handbook, there is a lot in that handbook that we are not to abide by. There was a city employee who stood up and spoke out at a meeting who was immediately fired the next day for bullying in the handbook. So if I stand up here and speak my mind or talk how I want to talk, could the city manager remove me from council? See, these are very unclear things when you have that term, city employee, and I'm bound to that handbook. Because council polices itself, it really does. It's very clear in the charter, but by that little line makes it very ambiguous, in my opinion. And that's why it was struck. That's why I wanted that change. So, thank you.
I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Axiotis. I mean, I had to put down my education, all of my, where I worked, etc. The people are voting for me. If they want me, okay. If they don't want me, okay. But if they don't know, they don't need to know where Pat Benitez was employed back in 1956 when she graduated from high school. Because that's when I graduated, okay? So that's no, you know, if they know me, okay, then ask me. But is that going to make me a different person because I graduated in 1956 from the big city of Greene with an E? We had the largest class, 16, okay? What else would you like to know? Thank you.
Miss Julie, could you add anything to that?
I don't know that I could touch that, but I just want to say the fire board meeting, I just looked at the date. It'll be February 20th at 6 o'clock at the Township Building. And I also want to say that in different conversations with some of the council members, I would really like to move forward with having a work session where we can all talk about our goals, our plans, maybe come up with a little action plan of, there's so many things that we need to do and we'd like to do. And it would just be easier if we can just get all out here on the floor in the public and come up with a plan and some goals. So I'll probably send an email out and just try to get a date rounded up to do that. That's all I have.
Ms. Brenda, do you have anything?
Be nice.
Look, I'm going to try to be nice.
Sassy little thing, you?
We all know I will fly off the handle quicker than a fly on a windowsill. I get very passionate. My mouth will get me in trouble every time. I apologize to the public for the words I said and chose. But I still am very passionate about that. I think if we have to hold our children accountable for the things that they say and do, and all of us parents and grandparents out there know that there's a lot of bullying right now going on in our high school. And I can't speak for everybody else, but sometimes I like to take a step back and just try to find out where all that might be stemming. And you get one or two kids in here and sit and listen to some of these council meetings, and I think you can see where the bullying is stemming from. Adults should set more of an example. And I'm sure that threat, I call it, was probably done to be funny or get a little dig in somewhere, but I don't view those things as that. When you have to hold the hand of a mother who lost their child due to an act of violence, that's something you'll never get over, and that is surely something that mother and father will never get over. And I try to stress that I may not like some people, but I'm always going to be willing to sit down with you 1 or 2 times to see if we can connect and work together. If we can't, I'll just simply get up and say thank you, have a good day, and maybe next time. Again, I apologize for the words I chose. They were very nasty, but I get very passionate when it comes to safety.
Thank you. Mr. Rupner?
Really don't have anything to pass. One thing I would like to remind everybody of, and proof positive tonight with the commission reports, there are committees out there that currently have open vacancies in it. Again, these committees that we got require people that, to move forward and better the community. Without people in those committees, we're basically hand-tied. They are the advisory to us or recommendation to us of what we need to do where. So please, if you have the time and you've got the compassion towards the community, look into these vacancies and see if there's one out there that, you're apt to fill and want to participate and help out. So again, thank you to everybody that was up here tonight, your reports and everything, and those that aren't here that participate on those committees. You are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right, if we don't have anything for executive session, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't have too much to talk about. I will say that all of you really look promising as a group, especially working together. I've always believed that working together is the solution. I've said that to Rufner for a number of months. You got to work together, even if someone might disagree on a decision. That's in no degree, that's not disrespectful of maybe the other 4 that that were in favor of that decision, and ultimately, all 5 just need to be supportive and respectful of what y'all made as a decision as a group. You know, I will say that there were a couple of motions put on the floor tonight to start to try to seek somebody to replace me. I mean, that was the intent over 2 years ago, too. I think you know, for me to step in and help the staff in that office and to get to a point to where they could close the months, get reconciled again, and get caught up with some things. You know, I'm only here at the pleasure of council, and you know, I'm going to dispel any rumor about me just leaving. That would not be helpful. I came here originally to help council, and I will be departing when council thinks it's the right time. With that, I have no other reports.
I apologize, sir. I'm going to keep my glasses on when we get through this meeting.
That's okay.
No doubt. All right, Mr. Law Director, do you have anything?
Nothing, sir, thank you.
All right. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything, sir?
Nothing other than, again, I will follow up on the absence tonight and your request for more.
All right, now, if we have no motion to recess in the executive session, we can adjourn this meeting. And I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out and making this a civil, decent, and special meeting tonight.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Do you want to go through it?
Yeah, let's go through it.
Motion, Mr. Rufner
Yes.
and Ms. Stimpert,
Yep.
seconds, and the roll, Ms. Benitez,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis.
Yes.
Ms. Persino,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
and Ms. Stimpert.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there, boy, I tell you.